The grand chandelier sparkled like 1,000 tiny suns, its light cascading over rows of elegant guests in shimmering gowns and crisp tuxedos. The air inside the billionaire's mansion was filled with laughter, clinking glasses, and the soft notes of a live orchestra playing love songs. Everything looked perfect, the kind of perfection that money could buy. But amid all that beauty and luxury, a faint, muffled sound went unnoticed by everyone except a young girl named Eliza. Eliza was just 12 years old, the daughter of Maria, one of the maids, who had worked for the wealthy Langford family for over a decade. While the guests twirled and danced, Eliza stood quietly near the corridor, clutching a silver tray far too heavy for her small hands. She was there only because her mother had no one to leave her with. "Stay close, don't talk, and don't touch anything," her mother had whispered earlier. Eliza had nodded obediently, but what happened next would change everything. For her mother, and for the entire Langford estate. As she stood near the Golden Hall's edge, her eyes wandered across the room filled with sparkling chandeliers and polished marble. She saw the bride, the billionaire's only daughter, glowing in her white gown, walking hand in hand with her new husband. Cameras flashed. Applause erupted. And just as everyone turned to watch the couple kiss under the crystal lights, Eliza heard it. A faint sound, a whimper, a cry. It came from behind the wall near the grand staircase. At first, she thought it might be the wind or some sound from the kitchen. But then she heard it again, a trembling voice, hoarse and weak. "Help, please." Eliza froze. Her heart began to pound. The sound was so faint it almost blended with the music, but there was no mistaking it. Someone was crying, and it wasn't just anyone. It sounded like a child. She placed the tray on a nearby table and moved closer to the wall, her tiny hand brushing against the golden wallpaper. The cry grew louder, desperate. "I'm hungry, someone please." Her breath caught in her throat. Someone was trapped. If you believe that kindness and second chances can change the world, please take a moment to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us share more stories that touch hearts. Eliza pressed her ear to the wall again, her pulse racing. Behind it, she could almost hear breathing. But how could that be? This was a grand mansion, every inch accounted for, every door locked and guarded. Still, something deep inside told her she couldn't ignore it. She had to help. She glanced around. The guests were too busy clapping for the newlyweds. Her mother was still serving drinks near the banquet table, unaware of what was happening. Eliza quietly slipped away and followed the sound down the corridor. The cries led her to a narrow hallway behind the ballroom, one that most guests never noticed. It was dimly lit and smelled faintly of old wood and dust. The sound came from a wall near an old painting, a portrait of a woman in a blue dress, framed in heavy gold. The noise was clearer here. Someone was definitely behind it. Eliza's hands trembled as she pushed the frame slightly, and to her shock, it moved. The painting wasn't just decoration. It was hiding something. Behind it, she noticed a small vent near the baseboard. She knelt down and peered inside. Her breath stopped. Two eyes stared back at her, dirty, terrified, and hollow with hunger. The eyes of a boy, not much older than her. His face was smeared with dust, his lips cracked and pale. "Please," he whispered. "Don't tell them. I've been here 5 days. I'm so hungry." Eliza gasped, her heart breaking. "5 days?" She whispered, barely able to speak. How could a boy be trapped inside the wall of a billionaire's mansion? The boy nodded weakly. "They locked me in. I tried to get out, but I can't." Her hands shook as she stood up, glancing nervously down the hallway. No one had seen her yet. She didn't know what to do. She was just a maid's daughter, invisible to everyone in this place. But she knew one thing for sure. She couldn't leave him there. She ran back to the ballroom, found her mother, and tugged at her sleeve. "Mama, there's a boy inside the wall." Her mother frowned, whispering sternly, "Eliza, not now. Don't make up stories." But Eliza's eyes were wide, her voice desperate. "He's real. Please, come." Seeing the terror on her daughter's face, Maria hesitated, then quietly followed her down the hall. When Eliza pointed to the vent, Maria knelt down and froze. Inside, through the narrow slits, she saw the same pleading eyes. "Oh my God," she whispered. Without another word, Maria began looking for something to help pry the vent open. She used a serving knife from her tray, forcing the screws loose. The metal bent with a screech, and when the vent finally came off, the boy crawled out, shaking, covered in dust and bruises. He could barely stand. Maria immediately pulled him close, wrapping him in her shawl. "It's okay, you're safe now," she whispered. But even as she comforted him, her mind raced. Who could have done this, and why? By the time they brought the boy into the light, the wedding music had stopped. A few guests nearby gasped when they saw the child. Frail, trembling, clothes torn. Someone shouted for security. Cameras turned. Within seconds, whispers spread across the hall. The billionaire himself, Mr. Langford, turned in confusion. "What's going on here?" Maria stepped forward, still holding the boy's shoulder protectively. "Sir, we found this child hidden behind your walls." A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. The bride's smile vanished. The groom's face went pale. Everyone stared, horrified. Mr. Langford's expression hardened. "That's impossible. There's no child here. Who are you talking about?" The boy stepped forward weakly, his voice trembling. You're the one who brought me here. Your men took me from the street, said I was stealing near your gates." The room fell silent. Maria's heart stopped. Eliza clutched her mother's hand. The guests exchanged shocked glances. The boy continued, tears streaming down his dirt-streaked face. "They said they'd just talk to me, but they locked me in that room. I kept shouting. No one came. Please, I just wanted food." A murmur of outrage began to grow among the guests. Mr. Langford's face reddened. "That's absurd," he barked. "He's lying. Some street urchin making up stories." But Eliza stepped forward, her small voice cutting through the tension. "He's not lying. I heard him. No one else did, but I did." Her words echoed across the silent ballroom. For a moment, even the orchestra seemed frozen. The bride looked at her father, disbelief in her eyes. "Dad, is this true?" Mr. Langford turned away, trying to maintain composure, but his silence said everything. Security arrived, followed by local police. It didn't take long for the truth to come out. The boy, named Liam, had indeed been caught near the Langford mansion days earlier, searching for food. One of the billionaire's guards had mistaken him for a thief. Instead of reporting him properly, they had locked him in a secret maintenance space, forgotten, unseen. When the billionaire learned of it, he chose to deal with it quietly, to avoid scandal during his daughter's wedding preparations. He never expected that a maid's daughter would uncover the truth. The revelation shattered the glittering illusion of the wedding. Guests left in disgust. Reporters who had been covering the lavish event began recording the chaos, and within hours, the story spread across the city. "Boy found locked inside billionaire's mansion." Headlines flashed everywhere. Mr. Langford faced public outrage. His reputation crumbled overnight. But amid the storm, one image went viral, that of a small girl standing bravely beside a rescued boy, holding his hand while police took him to safety. In the days that followed, Liam was taken to a hospital. He had been severely dehydrated and malnourished, but he recovered quickly. Eliza and her mother visited him every day, bringing food, books, and warm clothes. For the first time in years, Liam smiled again. Maria lost her job at the Langford estate, but something unexpected happened. The bride, Mr. Langford's daughter, who had been unaware of everything, came to see them. She apologized with tears in her eyes and offered Maria a new position, managing a community kitchen she was opening in Liam's name. "That little girl changed everything," she said softly. "She heard what none of us wanted to hear." Months later, the mansion that once hosted a wedding became something very different. The ballroom, once filled with diamonds and laughter, was turned into a children's shelter. The same walls that hid pain and secrets now echoed with the laughter of kids who finally had a home. And every morning as sunlight streamed through the grand windows, Eliza and Liam would sit by the golden frame of that old painting, the one that had hidden him, and talk about dreams, kindness, and courage. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your small act of kindness helps us bring more stories of hope and humanity to life. Before you go, tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you were Eliza that night? Would you have been brave enough to listen to the cries no one else heard? In a world where people chase wealth and appearances, sometimes it takes the smallest heart to reveal the biggest truth. Eliza didn't have riches, power, or fame, but she had compassion. And in the end, that compassion saved a life and exposed a darkness hidden behind golden walls. Because sometimes the most beautiful homes hide the most broken souls, until kindness knocks on the wall and listens.